Hello. My name is Georgianne, as most of you know, from the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today we have a guest returning, Christine Lombardo-Zaun, who always brings some serious facts for us to know, and also sometimes a little humor, which always helps. And she's going to, I think, Christine, today you're covering divorce and the college student and, the child college student. And how does it work when it comes to working out these agreements or no agreements with our college age children, or when they're even young and people are getting divorced and need to talk about this? So interesting topic. Take it away.
Thanks, Georgianne. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks.
So, I was reading the other day, because I read all kinds of weird things, but I have this thirst for knowledge and a thirst for continuous improvement. So with that, I found this very interesting factoid that there's the number of parents of college students are not your typical married couple. They actually consist of single, divorced, separated, widowed, or unmarried but living together parents.
Right, things have changed.
The demographic has changed. And I thought about that and I was like, okay, how are these people paying for college? I'm a college professor in another, in my other life. And I know the costs of post-secondary education. And while I'm a huge advocate for education, how do these people afford it? With my mediation practice, I've seen there are some parents that come into the table and they want to take care of the kids. And I love them because, they're just amazing. They're poster kids for mediation.
Right.
But not every couple comes to the table with that joint goal. Like some parents feel like, hey, I love my kids, but paying for college is going to be a responsibility that they have to take on. Trying to show tough love and trying to show, teach financial responsibility. So it's not that I don't love their children, but it's like, well, I don't want to be obligated to pay for my kids' college because I want them to have some skin in the game. So, interesting.
I just have a quick question for you. Do you
Sure.
find that when someone feels that way, the other person feels that way as well in the couple that's splitting up?
Well, the beautiful thing about divorce and mediation is every case is unique. Every case is unique. So I think I can't say I've seen it all, because as soon as I say that, my next case will one up me. So everybody's different. Sometimes I have people that are on the same page in agreement. I have others that come to the table and they're like, wait, what? I thought you wanted this when.
That's what I was thinking.
So yeah, there's a couple different things. One of the things I tell them is that, look, guys, there's a couple different ways you can deal with paying for college: the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is to go through mediation, draft a settlement agreement, keep control over your decision, and get it in writing, which is enforceable, like through the courts. The other way is to let the courts tell you how you're going to pay for college. And in my little bit of research, one of the things I learned, which is kind of scary, so hold on to your seats, everyone. Half the states in the union, okay?
We're listening.
Yeah, half the states in the union have state laws that can dictate whether the courts have authority to order a parent to pay for college and college-related expenses.
Oh my gosh.
Now, for some of us, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. But if you're, let's say, a parent watching this and you're contemplating divorce, or you're separated, or you're starting the process and you have little children, well, that's a fact that you really need to pay attention to, because I have seen where couples get divorced, they have young children, and then let's say 5 years later, the one parent takes the kids and moves to Washington State.
Right.
Well, Pennsylvania doesn't have any mandates where a court can tell parents how to do anything. with college. But Washington State does have a law that says a court can order a parent to pay for a child's college expenses.
Huge.
Pennsylvania, once they're 18 or graduate high school, whichever comes later, we don't have to pay. We have no legal obligation to support them, right? Unless there's some weird exceptions, like if they're, they have like medical needs and things like that. But for the most part, Pennsylvania is easy. Some of these other states, though, what happens if you don't have a settlement agreement? If you don't have anything in writing, well, guess what? Now you might have to play in a different jurisdiction where the law is going to tell you how you're going to pay.
Is there a time limit that the other person has to actually live there?
So that's called a residency requirement, and each state has a different residency requirement. Pennsylvania is 6 months. So it's wherever the child has resided for 6 months. That's where the law is going to be control and decide, the rules. So it's kind of important. That's why we encourage couples, if they're thinking about divorcing, to go through mediation, because that's where you sit and have a conversation about these issues. And, I have cases where the children are young and I say, okay, guys, let's talk about college. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I know it's about 15 years away, but how do you guys feel about that? And we open up a discussion. I am not as a third party neutral. I can't tell them what to do. Right. But I guide them and I listen to what they're saying and I listen to their intentions and their goals for their child. And sometimes parents will say, okay, you know what? We have money put aside for the kids. So we would like it put in the agreement specifically that this money in this account will be used for the child's tuition, room and board, textbooks, and fees. Some will go further to say that we'll also contribute to their living expenses. Okay. Some families, the parents will say, no, I don't want to be contractually obligated in a settlement agreement. So they'll put that in there, that they are not contractually obligated.
And in a mediation process, do you find that the other one person says, okay, well, I'm going to accept that because I have to choose what I really want to push for?
I think they realize what's important when we have our discussions.
Right.
And, I always tell my clients, when you're coming to the table, have your list of what's most important to least important. And with college, every family's different. Some have the means and they're able to put the money aside. Some have grandparents that have left money for them. Others do not. So I try to look at the party's best interests and offer some thought that might help guide them to their right decision. And, we've been doing pretty well with that part of the settlement agreements. Some couples will say, okay, we both know that we want to contribute to our children's college, but we don't know how much we're going to be able to contribute. So then we put some kind of hybrid clause like, okay, well, let's take your net incomes at that time and you contribute, your percentage of the combined net income. So if a family, if a husband and wife or ex-husband and ex-wife are making 100,000 collectively, and one spouse makes 70,000, the other one makes 30. Well, the person who's making 30,000 will contribute 30% of the college-related expenses. The other person will contribute 70% because it's relative.
I could see that guidance really helping with that agreement.
Yeah, and you kind of leave it open-ended, but you're having them on the hook. There's some literature out there that suggests, gosh, you don't want to put stuff into an agreement that's going to force the other to go to court to enforce it. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to just memorialize your intentions at this time.
Right.
And so most of my clients, I'm very thankful because they come to the table and the one thing they have in common is that they love their kids and they put them first.
And we're not thinking when we're in that place, we're not thinking of college for our children. So having a real conversation about it just takes away a lot of those barriers. I'm just.
Oh yeah, they look at me like I'm on a different planet when their children are 1 and 3, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Nope, just trust me. Just trust me." And now, that I've talked about FAFSA, I'll, refer them to that as well and talk about FAFSA. And
So much information you wouldn't get, certainly not by going to court to get divorced.
Now, the other thing that, why do you want to talk about this? Well, you also want to put a backup plan in your agreement.
Okay.
Because let's say that the parties agree that the kid is going to go to college and we're going to pay this, or we're going to do this, whatever the arrangement is. What if the child doesn't go to college and there's money set aside, like that bank account? Okay, well, what happens to that bank account with all the money in there if said child decides to go rogue and not go to college? So you might want to have a backup plan, like that money will still be used for the child, but it will be dispersed in this particular fashion. Or you might say, no, the child's not getting that money. We're going to go build our beach house or whatever. Separately, of course.
So would that be part of the mediation agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a big backup plan type of girl. You should always have a plan B, because life happens.
Right.
Happens often. So, the final thing I want to say is, and I tell the parents, what about the child tax exemption and the tax implications? Those are things you need to think about as well with regard to college and the college student. Because if I'm not mistaken, a parent can claim a child who is in college long after they're 18. I think it's up to 26. Wow. So there's some tax benefits. So you need to outline in the agreement who's going to get those tax benefits.
Does that come up in the mediation process with the accountant?
Yes. So what we do with our service, because we take that holistic approach, we have our clients go and sit with a CPA who is an expert in their field, and they will give you those answers. And it's really, I think, a very nice feature to our mediation.
All things you're not thinking about at that time.
Yeah. A lot of mediators are just going to do the financial, but this is a big piece and needs to be taken into consideration, because tax benefits can add up. So with that, the sum and substance of this is start planning, and you really can't start planning early enough. It's more than just putting money away in a 529.
Right. And I'm hearing too that you want to make, if you could guide people, it will be to make sure that's covered in the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I just want to let everybody know, if you have questions, comments, please call us, Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation, 1-800-310-9085. And you can even ask for Christine anytime. They'll find her and she will be happy to answer any questions, or anybody that answers that phone is fully qualified. So thank you. Thank you, Christine. Come back again soon, please.